Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where OP gets revenge against his stupid landlord. Our next Reddit post is from Vikings. In my last apartment, my roommate and I were living in a basement place with upstairs neighbors, and the owner decided he wanted to sell. The upstairs neighbors ended up buying it and became our new landlords. And they were awful at it. I could fill a whole post with the amount of stuff they tried to get away with, but we're here to talk about one particular instance. Suffice to say, they had no idea that landlords had responsibilities, and they simply saw us tenants as a source of income that should be ever growing. Hence our rent suddenly spiking and why we left. But there was one time that they maliciously complianced themselves. See, they had a habit of trying to push stuff on us that was blatantly illegal. Their first contract, for example, said, among other things, that they had the right to enter the apartment at any time they wanted, and they could go through all our stuff if they wished because we were living on their property. I pointed out that this was highly illegal, and they grew very upset, saying, "Well, we'll see about that." This clause later suddenly became the real one before we signed. One day, however, our lone fire alarm stopped working. As dutiful tenants, we reached out and said, "Hey, the fire alarm stopped working." Their response was a predictable sort of, "So what? We need to have a working fire alarm," we replied. "And it's the landlord's duty to provide working fire alarms." "No, it's not. You want one, you get it. The law says otherwise." And here's where they maliciously complianced themselves. Possibly because they were tired of being corrected, they got snooty with this one. We got a very sarcastic response. "Oh, it does it? Well, we'll just see what the fire marshal has to say about that." Me and my roommate, upon receiving this message, burst out laughing. But they were serious. They thought they were going to contact the fire marshal, he was going to side with them, and then they could come down on us hard. I don't know what their expressions were when we said, "Okay, yeah, do that." However, the next morning, there's frantic knocking at our door. There's the landlord and his family looking very concerned, with a bag of brand new fire alarms, one for each room, and if I recall correctly, even 2 spares. He begs to be let in outside of the 24-hour notice and says it's an emergency. He has to put these alarms up right now. Trying not to laugh, we let them in, and they hurriedly put one in every single room, apologizing profusely for the delay and telling us, "If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask." I don't know how that meeting with the fire marshal went, or if they got him or someone else at their office, but their attitude painted a pretty clear picture of the ultimate result. They complied maliciously, thinking they'd called our bluff. Oh, whoops. Down in the comments, people are discussing what the likely penalty would have been, and apparently, in this situation, the penalty could be a fine of $50,000 up to $100,000. So it's no wonder the family was sweating over this. Our next Reddit post is from Weed Cultist. I work as a purchasing manager for a mid-sized home goods retailer. We've used the same domestic importer for our seasonal decor for 5 years. They charge a markup, but they handle the customs, the quality checks, and the shipping. It's hassle-free. My new director of operations is convinced that he's a business genius. He called a meeting last month and lectured me about how we're hemorrhaging money by using a local distributor. He told me to cancel our contract for the holiday shipment and go direct to the source. I warned him. I told him that dealing with freight forwarders, tariff, and port delays is a full-time job. He told me that I was just being lazy. He actually said, "Just get me the contacts. I'll close the deal myself." So I did. I spent a few days on Alibaba compiling a list of legitimate Chinese manufacturing companies that produce glass ornaments. I handed him a spreadsheet with 20 factory contacts, their minimum order quantity requirements, and the time zone differences. I sat back and watched the show. He realized that the price does not include shipping to our warehouse. He wired money to a supplier, but forgot to hire a customs broker, so the shipment got flagged. The container sat at the port for 10 days because he didn't understand what an ISF filing was. The demurrage fees, which are fines for not moving the container, alone cost more than the 15% that he was trying to save. He came to my desk yesterday looking incredibly humbled and asked if I still had the same phone number for our old importer. Hey, at least he didn't blame it on you, OP. Our next Reddit post is from Amsterdam Assassin. For almost 2 decades, I worked security in office buildings at the night shift so I could work on my novel drafts. At work, in the idle hours between rounds and other security duties, I wrote on an iPad with a Bluetooth keyboard, and I had connected their chargers to the electric outlets in my security reception desk. I had a manager who had a personal problem with me and tried to get me fired. Since I performed my duties above average, he had to find a way to get me on something else. So one day, I was called to headquarters for a meeting with my manager and a young female intern from the Human Resources Department who spent the whole meeting flirting with my idiot manager, who, by the way, was married to the company owner's daughter. I was accused of theft, stealing electricity for my laptop. I told them that if they wanted to accuse me, they had to do it properly. I hadn't committed theft, I had committed embezzlement, since the electricity was part of my reception area and under my supervision. Therefore, embezzlement is a vastly more insidious crime, and they should send me home and gather the disciplinary committee to judge whether I should be fired for this crime, and I'd confer with my union rep. They immediately retracted their accusation and stopped bothering me with their nonsense. All my colleagues charged their devices from company outlets, so their accusation would mean every employee could be arrested for electricity embezzlement. Then, the irate manager hung up a sign in the security area that nobody was allowed to charge their personal devices. So, I took a typewriter to work, so I didn't need to charge my writing implements. Also, I had a Nokia that would hold a charge for several days, but my coworkers had smartphones that needed juice. So they got angry at management for signs about not being allowed to charge their phones, and the complaint spread to other locations, forcing management to remove the signs and allow people to charge their phones again. And then I could hook up my iPad again. Our next Reddit post is from Piranha Week. I'm a 35-year-old IT manager for a small family-run sales company. We recently moved from a very old software to a new platform that's modern, intuitive, and much more efficient. Technically, it's a great product. The problem is the support. Their in-app support is fairly fast, but they reply almost only using voice messages. I stopped listening to voice notes years ago because they break your focus and they force you to replay things just to get basic info. Text I can read, search, and solve. Audio just slows everything down. I asked them many times to stop using audio, and I even told them I'm hearing impaired. They ignored it. Yesterday, the point-of-sale systems were not communicating with the local server, even though they were all online. I did my part and contacted support because it was beyond my pay grade. As usual, the first reply was an audio message. When they asked for the remote access ID, I sent it back as audio. Then I sent the password as audio too. Suddenly, they switched to text. They asked for screenshots. Then they needed the admin credentials, and I sent them the long, messy password with numbers, uppercase, and lowercase letters via audio. From that point on, everything was done in text, including today's follow-up. Turns out they know exactly how annoying voice messages are. They just don't care until it becomes their problem. Our next Reddit post is from Lobia. I work in IT for a big company and manage a portal that a small group of people use daily. My manager wanted me to go through the list of users and remove anyone who didn't need access. Simple request. I reduced the list from 100 to 30 people. Everyone's happy. A couple of weeks later, my manager complained that 30 users is too much, and he wanted me to create a list of all their names, what team they're a part of, who they report to, and how often they need access to the portal. It's an annoying request, but sure, I get it done. He goes through the list and gets mad when he sees names he doesn't recognize, even though our company has a couple thousand employees. So he tells me to delete all users whose names he doesn't recognize. Stupid request, but okay, done. We're a global company, so immediately overnight I'm getting bombarded with emails that systems are down and no one has access to logs in the system to fix it. My phone's going off. But screw it, I don't get paid to work at 3 a.m. Next morning, my manager somehow gets mad at me for deleting the users he told me to delete and tells me to add them back. No shit, Sherlock. A couple of weeks later, he again brings up that he's not happy and the system is not secure. Too many users have access, blah blah blah. Like, bro, how bored are you? He wanted me to review the list of users with him again. 27 of the users use this system daily. There are only 3 users, himself and 2 other people, that are high up management that don't use the system at all, but are there for political reasons. He starts yelling at me, telling me to delete anyone who doesn't use the portal daily as part of their core job, and anyone new who wants access must fill out a form and explain why they need it. Okay, fine. Screw it. Done. A couple weeks pass by and he goes, "Hey, I think something's wrong with the system. I can't log in anymore." Nope, it's working just fine. Then why can't I log in? I removed all the users who don't use it daily as part of their core job. Add me back. Then I slid him the form that he created, and he got mad at me. It's been weeks and he still hasn't filled out the form, and I still haven't added him back. We're somehow on good terms now. Our next Reddit post is from Major Noodles. I work from home for a company that makes software for mobile devices. Of course, a lot of the work I do requires having the physical devices. If I needed a specific one, I'd put in a request and they'd ship it to me. However, recently, one of my requests to ship it was denied, and I was told I'd have to pick it up. Their reasoning? I live within an hour of the office, so I'm expected to come in to get them myself. The problem is, if you look up the address on Google Maps, it does take under an hour, just barely. But only if you look it up at like 2 in the afternoon, or in the middle of the night when no one is driving. If you look it up during normal commuting times, it is never less than that. I'm writing this at 7 a.m. and the drive is currently listed at 1 hour and 15 minutes. In 30 minutes, it's going to be even worse. I asked if I could just pay for shipping myself, since it would be cheaper for me to do that than pay for the gas and parking. Nope, gotta come in. So now I come in. I take my lunch and then head in at 1 in the afternoon. I get what I need and immediately leave. It takes me just under 2 hours total, and because I'm only running in for a few minutes, I can leave my car in front of the building and not have to buy parking. That's 2 hours that I would normally spend doing work I'm now spending in my car. For some reason, I'm now back on the approved list for shipping. Our next Reddit post is from Ren is Existing. I'm a 21-year-old woman, and I work in a pharmacy as a pharmacy technician, along with my friend. We were both chatting about next semester and what classes we were taking while filling medications when my older coworker, a 41-year-old woman, loudly shouts, "Let's play the quiet game with just you two and see who can go without talking for 25 minutes, very rudely. All of my other coworkers were shocked, as our talking wasn't bothering them and we had no patience at the time. So I decided to comply, but to her rigorous standards. I stopped talking to her, period. I only respond if talked to first, and only if it's about work. I also do not talk to her once I'm clocked out, as she complains about fraternizing with higher members of management outside of work hours. She's a lead tech, so she is higher. She hates it. She keeps trying to talk to me, but I only respond with, "Is this about work?" and move on. She's the only one I do it to. It's fun. This coworker has a streak of being rude and overly harsh and not apologizing. It's nice to give her a taste of her own medicine. That was r/malicious compliance, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.